Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming in watching another one of my MythicMobs tutorials. Now, I'm going to start off by giving you guys a timestamp on my video because I got a couple of things to explain. So if you just want to jump right into it, make sure to go to the time in my video that timestamp says, and that will be where I actually plan to start this tutorial. Now, for everybody else who's listening, I want to start off by saying thank you so much for everybody who's been supporting me through these tutorials. I've actually had a lot of people reach out to me through Discord asking me, hey, do you have any advice for this mob? Or hey, what do you think of this? How do I do that? Can you describe this mechanic for me? Can you show me how to do this? And it's actually been wonderful. I love it so much, and I can't thank you guys enough for helping me stay involved with you all and, you know, help you all learn how to make even more cool mobs, because I think we are the future of Minecraft, ladies and gentlemen. You have cool biomes, you have cool economies, cool custom items, and cool this and that, but, you know, where's all that fun if you don't have some sort of challenging mobs to fight? Yeah, we've got the Ender Dragon, we've got the Wither, but, you know, why stop at those? Why would we not go further so that way we can make even more crazy mobs for players to fight? And that's why I'm here to do all of these tutorials for you guys, because somebody the other day actually asked me, hey, when you have time, do you think you could actually make a tutorial of all the skills? Yeah, every last one of them. To which I replied, yes, of course I will. Because, you know, why not? But I'm going to be doing these tutorials probably about once a week, if I can, maybe more, maybe less, who knows. I am going to be a working college student, so, you know, it's going to be a little bit hard to try and squeak one out for you guys, but I promise I will try to do more for you guys. And I will leave my Discord in the description below, so that way you guys can reach out to me if you're like, hey, I need advice, or hey, can you do this mechanic in your next video, or, you know, anything of the sort. It's what I'm here for, you guys, because we are going to go far together, and I cannot wait to see what you all come up with. So without further ado, we're going to start off at the top of the list, minus one skill because it involves scoreboards. We're going to start off today with the damage skill. So what is damage? Well, it's exactly what you think it is. It's how much health that I lose every time I get attacked. Now, it's pretty straightforward, but there's some new mechanics to it that I did not notice last time, and I'm going to go ahead and pull open my file and show you guys. So, what I did right here, as you can see, I just have a normal zombie, of course with some extra options just to make this video easier on me, so that way I can show you guys how the damage works. What's really cool, I'm actually going to go ahead and switch this to 0 so that way we can mess around with the damage values. So what it is, I found out that damage is a little bit finicky, so if you want to use damage as a skill on its own, it's best to make it a meta skill instead of putting it in your mob file, because it will get very, let's just say once it hits you once, it's going to continuously hit you until you die, and you cannot avoid it. I don't know if this is a bug, because on hit and on attack are two different things, but yet they seem to work exactly the same when it comes to damage skill, which is really strange. So first and foremost with advice, make sure to turn it into a meta skill like this, skill S equals damage name. So I have different types for you guys that I want to show off to you. We're going to start off with our base damage. Now, obviously it's different from this one because this is a skill that gets used, but base damage is basically how much bonus damage you want your mob to do. So say I had this set to 2, and let's see, I put it up here. I set this to 2 also. This means the mob is going to do 4 damage overall to us. So let me go ahead and reload that, and it should work. The base damage might not stack correctly, but we're going to try it. Oh wait, it seems to be damaging itself. Well, isn't that funny? Oh, because I totally forgot. Be careful with your targeters. Most of these are going to be set to @self. I should probably set it to @trigger. I'd recommend, or I would say @target, but that means if somebody else were to attack the mob, well, I would take damage, and that's really not cool. So, now that I switched that, let me go ahead and reload here, and it should, yep, there it goes. You see that? It did 2 full hearts of damage. It's probably one thing I should explain to you guys. For each integer of damage, that's half a heart. So, like, this right here means it does 1 damage upon hitting me, or 1 heart, I mean. 1 damage equals half a heart, 2 damage equals 1 heart. Really cool. So, now that you can see, that's the base damage, and you can set it to whatever you choose to. One thing I recommend, add a cooldown. Do not let it be set to 0, otherwise you will take spam damage really fast and die instantly from it, and you cannot escape from it. I don't know why this is, but that just seems to be the case regardless of what I set the trigger to, whether it's on hit, on attack, doesn't matter, it seems to do it regardless. So just make sure to add a 1 second cooldown to all of them so that way you can keep it fairly consistent, because the mob attack time is generally around 1 second anyway. So next we're going to go ahead and step into another cool aspect of damage, which is known as Thorns. It's pretty straightforward if you're familiar with the enchantment, because it's exactly what it sounds like. This means whoever hits it at trigger, whoever hits it will take damage, because it will target whoever hits it. So down here, as you can see, I have it set to damage equals 2. I set the cooldown to 1 so that way you don't get the same option, because you know, if you're constantly taking damage, well, you're gonna get spammed to death, because it will just dead. So make sure you have a 1 second cooldown on any damage skill you use. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. I'll probably say it a few more times in this video, so bear with me. But basically what this does is I take damage anytime I hurt the mob. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Let me reload here. Boom. Yep, see, there goes my health right there. Boom. Boom. Now, one thing I just realized I forgot to tell you guys is how the damage mechanic works. It's probably pretty helpful to know. So, there's two different things here. You have your amount, and then you have your ignore armor. This means you can be wearing full diamond armor with protection 5, and it will still do 1 heart of damage to you because it just hits right through it. So, I don't recommend having ignore armor set to true unless you want a really beefy mob, which I don't know, maybe some people do, but in the sake of this tutorial, I do not. I mean, I kind of do, but I set his amount to 1 heart, so that way it's not like stupidly crazy powerful. So that's how you would set up a thorn-based mob. So say he's like some big spiky mob, you know. Of course, you're gonna hurt yourself if you punch the spikes. So let me go and heal up here, and I will take damage every single time it happens. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. I call it Empowered Auto, and let me break it down for you here. It's kind of the same as the base damage here, except I boosted his damage output to do 5, which is 2.5 hearts instead of just 1 heart. But he only has a 30% chance to use it, which this is not correct. This should be on hit. There we go. Okay, so he only has a 30% chance to use it. If you want a mob that just hits really hard but at random, make sure to add a modifier. It's fairly self-explanatory, but just in case, if I were to do 0.1, that's 10%, 0.3, 30%, 5, 50, so on and so forth. And you can break it down even further if you want. You can set it to like 1%, which is 0.1, or 15%, which is, well, it's not that, sorry. 15%, which is this, I believe. No, it was this. Okay, so yeah, it works basically every number behind the percentage is going to be, you know, or behind the decimal is going to be your percentage. So 10%, 15%, 20%, so on and so forth. So I'm going to keep it at 30, and I'm going to show you guys how it works. So as you can see, he's going to do 5 extra damage upon hitting me. So let me go ahead and reload, and we'll see if he does it. Didn't do it right there. Oh, there it was. Yeah, you see that big old chunk of health? Yeah. That is something that will devastate your players if you have it set. Now, one thing I think would be really cool is if you added some sort of particle to it too, so that way you know that you're getting just straight up slammed by a mob. You know, like maybe sparkles, like firework sparks. That's generally what crit looks like. So you know, that'd be one way to let players know that, hey, you just took a heck of a lot of damage. Don't mess with this guy. So yeah, that's the Empowered Auto. Next, we're going to move on to Deathly Aura. Ooh, spooky. Now, I don't recommend it generally unless you, you know, you have some sort of mob, like a grave style mob, like a necromancer or something that, you know, you could do different things. You could use like Potion Wither, Potion Poison, Potion Harm. This one is just really easy because you can directly mess with the mechanics, like how much it does. So as you can see, mine's going to do 1 heart every time. It's going to ignore any armor I might be wearing, but it's going to do it on a timer, and it's going to affect players in a 4-block radius. I think it's important to have in radius instead. If you have it at target, then it doesn't matter how far away you are, you're always going to take damage, which is actually not okay for most boss fights, because why would I want to be way back here and still be taking damage if he's way over there, you know? So, I did it to players in radius, an on timer of 20. Now that 20 doesn't mean 20 seconds, that means every 20 ticks, and there's 20 ticks per second, so if I had this set to 40, it would be every 2 seconds, 60, every 3 seconds, so on and so forth. But I want it to be every second, just for the sake of this tutorial. So let me go ahead and show you guys what that will look like. I'm going to go ahead and reload it, and he is not doing anything for some odd reason. Maybe I forgot to actually set it over here. Deathly Aura. Oh, it's because I didn't even spell it right. Let me try that again. Deathly Aura. Yeah, there we go. That looks a lot more right. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, make sure your syntaxes are correct because, ladies and gentlemen, it will mess up your mobs. So as you can see, now I'm taking area of effect damage. I'm taking 1 heart of damage every second. I'm going to get out of this before I die. And let me go ahead and refill on some splash potions because I knew this damage tutorial was going to probably kill me, so I stocked up. But as you can see, yes, I am taking damage per second by being in a 4 block radius, or I don't know how that works. I think it's maybe half block. But basically, yeah, that's how you do it as an aura style effect. This is not to be confused with the new aura skill that they just let out recently. I don't know how to work that one yet, but I promise by the time I get to that tutorial, I will know all about it and I will share my knowledge with you guys. Now, the last one we have, this one's a bit of a complicated mechanic. But as you can see, this uses a random skill mechanic. Now, if you haven't watched my last video where that guy came from, that's Budapig, by the way. If you haven't watched my last video on random skill, I will link it in the video description down below so that way you guys can check it out. Very important to know, I think. It will definitely make bosses flow a lot smoother with their abilities so you're not just getting spammed like crazy with them. Yeah, definitely make sure to go check it out. But this one gets a little complicated, though. So it uses a random damage skill every time he hits a player. There we go. And that starts right here, which is a skill on its own, which then goes on to use random skill, which uses even more skills. Now, as you can see, it uses damage 1, 3, 5, 7. Those are just skills that I created. You can call it whatever you want. I wanted to be straightforward with it so you guys would know that what I was doing. So, you know, 1 damage, 3 damage, 5, 7, half a heart, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, so on and so forth. So let me go ahead and reload that. And this is how... Yeah, see, look at that. He's doing just like... Seems to be defaulting to the same one for some odd reason. It's kind of strange. But anyway, that's how you make him do just like random bits of damage. So if you want him to be an absolute wild card, this is the way to go. Now, I guess one thing you could do, you could probably just throw this random skill in his mob file right there, to be entirely honest. But for the sake of this tutorial, I did not. I just kind of left it on its own. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is basically how you use the damage skill. It's pretty straightforward, and there's a lot of things you can do with it. It just depends on your targeters and your triggers. So, yeah, I hope this tutorial has been inspirational to you guys, because as you can see, I give you a few pretty cool ideas on what you can do with it. Again, if you have not seen my random skill tutorial where this guy came from, make sure to go check it out. It might be very important and very knowledgeable for you to, watch. Thank you again for all your support. If you want to see more and stay up to date, make sure to press that big fat red subscribe button, as well as press that bell so that way you get notified every single time I release a new tutorial. Ladies and gentlemen, your creations are going to go far, and we're going to do it together. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see what you come up with in the future.